By now, the majority of us know that Kirk Cousins' tenure here in Minnesota is most likely up. And we could say that maybe even just a year ago, we kind of figured that Kirk Cousins was going to be finding his way out of Minnesota as time kind of went on, because there was fans that are getting sick of watching Kirk in prime time and blow these games and stuff like that. This season, it's a little bit different. Okay, he's balling out. He's doing the best he can. We just don't have an offensive line to keep him protected. But now we're also missing our superstar wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, out those 4 weeks with that hamstring injury. But by now we all understand that Kirk Cousins' time in Minnesota is basically over and done with after this season, and it could end up being over in just a couple weeks when that October 31st trade deadline hits. Kirk Cousins could be elsewhere, and I think a lot of us are okay with that just because we're looking forward to the future. But Kirk Cousins has had no idea about these trade talks and these trade rumors that have been swirling around as of recent, the last couple of weeks, of him potentially getting dealt. Even though he has a no trade clause, he's all about ball. So Kevin Seifert of ESPN dove through this, and there was actually a media day for Kirk Cousins where he was asked a couple of these questions about the trade rumors, and we have some quotes in this article for you guys to kind of ponder at and make your own assumptions of what he actually means. So let's get to that article. It says that Kirk Cousins provided a very Kirk Cousins-like response when asked about intensifying public discussion of the possibility that the Minnesota Vikings could try to deal him elsewhere before the NFL's trade deadline on October 31st. This is what Cousins said. I'm just very focused on the Bears and going 1-0 this week. And anything else is not worth my time or energy or attention. Kirk Cousins is focusing on the football. He's focusing on this week at hand. He ain't worried about any of that outside noise, because he's been in the NFL long enough to know that you probably should stay off your phone, because there's either going to be good stuff said about you or very, very bad stuff said about you. And in this case, I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad. I think it's just more of our fan base saying, hey, it's time to move on. Let's try to get a Caleb Williams, a Drake May. Let's find that franchise quarterback. Let's fix this team, and let's move forward to the next 5-10 years of something else. Okay, we've seen what Kirk Cousins can do. We've seen his ceiling. I'm not sure if there's going to be any more, chances at winning a Super Bowl and stuff like that with Kirk Cousins at the helm. I just don't see that. It very well possibly could happen. I'm just saying it probably is not going to happen this year. And he's on the final year of his contract, so why not move on from him, right? Especially at the end of the season. I'm not saying we have to trade him, but move on from him, and let's get a taste of something new for our Minnesota Vikings. So it says, asked for the first time whether there was any scenario in which he would consider waiving the no-trade clause in his contract, Cousins declined to address the premise. He ain't going to talk about it. He doesn't worry about that stuff. He already said, I'm focusing on football. I'm focusing on this week at hand, trying to go 1-0 this week against the Chicago Bears. That's all he's focusing on. Now, his contract is set to void next March after the deadline for declaring franchise tags, meaning he has a guaranteed path to the free agent market if he wants it. Okay, that's if Minnesota offers him an extension, which I doubt will be the case, pending on where we're sitting at in the draft. We could always trade up in the draft and stuff like that, but I doubt those contract extension talks are going to pick up next March. So I would assume Kirk Cousins tests free agency then. Now, the Vikings have lost 4 of 5 games and will be without superstar receiver Justin Jefferson with a hamstring injury for at least 4 games after he was officially placed on the injured reserve Wednesday. Now, the Vikings, according to ESPN's Football Power Index, have twice the chance of picking in the top 10 of the 2024 NFL Draft, 41.5%, as compared with making the playoffs, which is just 20.3%. So there's still a chance, okay? Don't give up hope yet. There's still a chance. Now, prompting questions among media and fans about whether the team would look to unload players at the trade deadline. We have a better chance of making the top 10 in the draft than making the playoffs. That's why these talks and these trade rumors are happening right now. We have to understand that. This ain't, set in stone. We can't just trade Kirk Cousins just because we want to. No. We have to go to him. We have to ask him, hey, would you be okay if we traded you to this destination? Yes or no? If he says yes, perfect. We can trade him. If he says no, we're kind of, stuck. We're stuck with Kirk Cousins at that point. He can waive that or he holds the power on whether or not he can be traded or not. Now, Cousins would have to waive, like I said, he would have to waive his no-trade clause to facilitate a deal. And he made clear Wednesday that he did not want to add to the public discussion surrounding it. He's going to let the Vikings do what they want to do, and we'll ask questions later. In fact, he insisted he was not aware of the public discussion at all. How aren't you aware? Interesting. Here's his Cousins. Ignorance is bliss. And I'm just really ignorant. I don't really have access to a whole lot, and I try to do that by design. So it's pretty intentional. Aside from high school friends who may text me who they're reading, I really don't know what's going on. Okay, I've been insulated at times to the point of being naive and a little stupid, but I'd rather err on that side than consuming everything. It takes your focus off what is important and what will help you play well. So Cousins has no idea what's going on. He has had no clue that these trade discussions, these trade rumors by us fans are even taking place, or the media experts and stuff like that. He's locked in. Okay, he's all about ball. He doesn't really care. What happens, happens. Okay, that's what he's going to say. Roll the dice, and if you get a 6, you get a 6. If not, so be it. Who cares? That's kind of what Cousins is doing right now. He's just sitting there, focusing on the week at hand, focusing on winning some more ball games until otherwise. Okay, that's what is going on right now. But the fact that he hasn't heard anything or any of these rumblings other than from his high school friends is it's very interesting. Okay, I like, he's been in the league long enough to know probably stay off your phone, like I mentioned earlier. But at the same time, it's like, oh my goodness, like kind of some crazy stuff happening right now. But Kirk Cousins could end up getting traded. This might and very well could be Kirk Cousins' last stand with the Minnesota Vikings. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think about this. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of your day, folks, and Skol Vikes.